Yeah, I'm from Missouri, but I moved here about a year ago just to work with the organization that I do because it's that great, and also the Lord called me here. So when the Lord calls you somewhere, it's good to listen, and I'm glad I did. There's going to be some pictures playing that'll kind of give you a really good idea of who we are and what we do. But yeah, I work for the Pier Center for Life Enrichment, which is a very long name, but we are a center for adults with disabilities. We seek to provide inspiration, encouragement, and resources for adults with disabilities and their families, which is a mouthful to say, but I'm going to explain everything that means. So raise your hand if you know somebody with a disability. You maybe have a family member or a friend from church or something. Okay, cool, great. So maybe about half of you. Very cool. Well, that's like the type of people that I serve every day. And oh, they're just so great. You can just see from their faces how amazing they are. But that's what I'm here to talk about. That's the population that I get to work with and who we feel called to serve. And so kind of just to explain who we are and what we do, so you guys are all in high school, which is really exciting, and some of you are seniors. Who are the seniors? You're about ready to graduate. Wow, I remember senior year of high school, and I felt so much pressure. But it's gonna be great, and some of you guys may go off to college, and some of you may take a gap year, or may travel, or might go into work right away, and that's really great. But sometimes that's not an option for certain individuals. And when I say adults with disabilities, I kind of want to talk about what that means so that when I refer to it, which is going to be a lot, we're all on the same page with it. So a lot of the disabilities we serve, like Miss Naomi here, have Down syndrome. And you've probably heard of Down syndrome before. It means you have just one extra chromosome, and maybe affects their brain a little bit differently than a typical person. But because of that, they have so much more to offer, and it just takes a little bit more to see it. So we serve a lot of people with Down syndrome, and we also serve a lot of people with autism. And autism can mean a lot of things. There's a very wide spectrum when it comes to autism, and no two people with autism are the same, guarantee it, because it shows itself in so many different ways. But generally, autism just kind of is a term to mean that your brain takes in information differently. So for the typical person, for most of us in this room, our brains are continuously filtering out information. So all around us right now, there's bright lights, there are things set up all around the room, there's people moving, I'm walking on the stage, I'm talking, there's thoughts going through your head, so you're getting all this sensory information from everything. And naturally, our brains are just filtering out what's not important. I don't need to hear somebody moving in their seat, so I'm just hearing my voice right now. So our brain can filter that out. Well, if you have autism, it doesn't filter it out as easily. So everything that's going on around you at all times, you're sensitive to it. So if there's a lot of loud noises, that might affect them because they hear that loud noise like 10 times louder than we actually do. So if you can imagine that, which is kind of hard to imagine if you don't experience it, but if you can imagine it, that's a lot going on in your brain at one time. So to just be in a room is a lot, but then to be expected to have normal conversation with peers or to be expected to fulfill a job and job responsibilities, that's asking a lot of someone. So maybe that's not a possibility, which means going to college or holding a job that's full-time, 40 hours a week, isn't going to be possible for them. And we do have some people that work. We have 2 people that work at McDonald's for a few hours, a couple days a week, which is great. And we have one guy who works at Home Depot, and he gets, oh, that's him in the blue shirt, Steven. He works at Home Depot a few hours a week, so if you ever go there, you might see Steven, which is great, but working a few hours a week is not enough to, pay all your bills and rent and everything that you guys will eventually have to deal with, which is a lot of fun. But I explain all of that because I wanted to just let you guys know how how we are and what to expect, but also recognize that though we might be a little bit different than what you're used to, we aren't scary. There's nothing to be afraid of. We're very gentle souls and we just love to love. But also there's a lot to be learned from us. And typically what will happen is if somebody's not able to go to college or go to work full time, one of two things will happen. They'll either end up in their parents' home or their caregiver's home, grandparents, and just be there all day, every day, watching TV or doing crafts or something, which is safe and that's good, but we really believe they are capable of so much more. The second option is a state-run organization, which are pretty common, but they're really big, kind of like a warehouse. And it's just a room where people can go and they can be safe and they have trained staff. And usually they'll just stay in that room all day, every day. Again, safe, not the worst situation, but are they really doing much or fulfilling much purpose? Not really. And so we saw that need and created our organization to accommodate to those individuals who are capable of so much more than just being put in a room all day to watch TV and color some pictures. And the three things that we really focus on with the Pier Center is celebrating our individuals, respecting them, just like everybody wants to be respected, and opening doors of opportunity. So allowing them to be out and active and get out in the community. We are always on the move, so much so that I'm exhausted at the end of every day because we're going from place to place and fun activity to fun activity. We go to the YMCA and we do water aerobics and we swim and we do bowling and we volunteer and we do basketball and we go to the library and we go on Chick-fil-A field trips and we just do so much stuff. And it's so great because a lot of times, yeah, it takes a little extra work to get there, but seeing our people at the end of the day and seeing them feel like, wow, I accomplished a lot today. I got to go to these places and interact with these people and meet new friends. And that's just what anybody else would do. And just because I see the world a little differently doesn't mean that I can't have those opportunities also. And we also have class time. So we just started implementing some curriculum into our days. So we are learning right now about safety. So the classes that we teach are more centered around life skills. So skills that you need every day to learn, which would be like safety, or money skills, or relationship building, or let's think, what else are we learning? Skills to hold a job, what it takes to be able to maintain a job. And so we teach those more practical skills because as soon as they're not using that skill every day, it slowly fades out. And just like it would with any of us, but they kind of need that repetition a little bit more because they've got a lot more going on in their brain. And so we focus on teaching that and we'll repeat it as many times as we need, if needed, because they're worth it. But they're just really great people. And I think I just want to share why we feel the need to invest so deeply in these individuals. And I mean, it all goes back to Jesus, and Jesus loved. He loved first, he loved always. You read a lot of stories in the Bible about Jesus going to the deaf person and allowing them to hear, or going to the mute and the blind and just being with them because he saw a need and he wanted to love. And I think that's what we see. We see how he loved and we want to love in response. And also, sometimes people will see people with disabilities or hear. I have a brother with autism. He's 15 now. So for the past 15 years of my life, our family has been learning what it's like to have someone we love so dearly, more than anyone else in the world, with a disability. And it changed the whole dynamic of our house, of our family, and it was so beautiful, and it was hard. And we wouldn't change a thing because he is amazing. But he taught us a lot about what it looks like to love. And sometimes people hear our story or hear what we went through, and with his diagnosis and things that he struggles with, and they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And we're like, well, honestly, God intended for everything to happen, and he created Nate, my brother, very intentionally and beautifully. And yes, he has autism, but that's how God made him. And so we're not sorry about it. And yes, there are some challenges, but he is who he is because that's how God created him for a specific purpose, which is just how he created each of us also. So there's nothing to be sorry about. There are some different ways you have to look at life, but it's actually a really beautiful opportunity to embrace it. So I share that because, so in Psalm 139:13, it says, "You formed my innermost being, shaping my delicate inside and intricate outside, and wove them all together in my mother's womb." And that talks about how we were each created. And the words that he uses just to describe how God created us with intricate outside and delicate inside, and when we were just itty-bitty, microscopic little things. God was creating us very intentionally, and every little piece of our personality and every extra chromosome and everything, God created us intentionally, and we believe that's how it is for our people also. And so we don't think God messed up. It's not like it's an anomaly. That's just how they're created, just like anybody else. But we also believe they have a purpose, and God has called us all to do good works in Christ Jesus, and they're capable of doing those good works also. And maybe they need a little extra help, or maybe the world needs to not put so many boundaries on them to allow it to happen, but they are capable of those good works if you just take a step back and look at it a little bit differently. But we do believe that purpose is much greater than just sitting in a room and watching TV and coloring, because they've already shown us how much they can do. Kevin, that's one. Yep. But they've taught me a lot too, just by working with them, through my brother and also through working with the Pier Center for the past year. They teach me a lot about joy. All of the smiles on the screen obviously show how much joy they have, and that alone can bring you joy. I look at these pictures and I just smile because that is joy, and that's a fruit of the Spirit, and they have the Holy Spirit in them just like we do. And one of our guys, his name's Lucas. He's in the orange shirt. Lucas. He has Down syndrome, and he loves to bowl. We love bowling. We do Special Olympics bowling. We just bowled for 2 hours on Wednesday because sometimes it takes us a while to bowl, but we love it. And every time he very carefully goes to the lane and bowls his ball down and waits for it to get to the end. And whether he gets one pin or he knocks all the pins down, he cheers. And he says, "Yes, woo!" And you just get so excited. And he's just genuinely excited to be there and having fun with his friends. And he doesn't really care how many pins he gets down because he's just having fun. Because that's what the joy of the Lord is. It's just enjoying life and recognizing there's so much to be grateful for. I'm here with my friends. I'm having fun, whether I get a strike or not. So they teach me a lot about that. And they teach me a lot about patience, because sometimes we do take a little bit longer to do things, which is a good lesson to learn. I mean, this world is so fast-paced and so busy, and you feel pressure to be going, especially you seniors in high school. I'm sure you feel like, I just have to go, and submit these applications and scholarships and do this homework and get to my sports event, and there's just a lot. But they teach me, okay, slow down. Think about what's going on around you. Think about how you can be loving this person in this moment. And they definitely teach me a lot about love and how to love each other and love God, honestly. But they are so intentional. We had one guy last week get a paper cut on his hand. He was just sorting papers and got a little paper cut, and he said, "Ouch, I got a paper cut." And then it barely bled, so it was just the end of that. He got a paper cut and that was it. And I was like, okay, we're moving on. Well, just the other day, one of our girls said, "Oh, hey, Matt, how's your paper cut doing?" And I was just like, oh my goodness. That paper cut happened last week, There's been 1,004 things that have happened since then, but you remembered. And you remembered because you care about him. And just the act of intentionality that showed, like, this is my friend Matt, I love him, I care about him, so I'm going to remember, oh, he got a paper cut, I wanna make sure he's okay. And just by remembering that little detail, it showed us, wow, they love so deeply. And they'll love you guys that way too. So we're really excited because we're gonna be joining y'all on campus on Fridays for lunchtime. So we'll be here for all of middle school lunch and all of high school lunch. So we'll be in there with you, we'll be sitting at the tables, talking with you guys, helping serve you lunch, or working with the concession stand, and just being there. And it's gonna be really cool. We have about 10 people that we'll bring, and they're the people that you see. And we're gonna just be joining you guys and building friendships. I mean, I've already been so amazed by the culture that you guys have here. You're fun and exciting, and you love Jesus, and that's what's most important. And as long as you love Jesus, you can love our people well, because it's all it takes. It's just your heart. So yeah, we're gonna be here on Fridays, starting next week. So this week is our last week with our other setup, our other schedule that we had, and then we'll move to coming here on Fridays. So it's really cool because we actually have another partnership that's just like this. And we're at a campus that's called Adventures in Missions. It's in Gainesville. Has anyone heard of that before? Adventures in Missions, a couple? Cool. They're an organization that sends out young missionaries. So I actually was a part of that organization before I started with Pier. And that's how I moved to Georgia. I was a missionary for a year, traveled around, it was great, and then came back and was like, oh no, I don't know what to do with my life, and found the Pier Center and moved here to work with them. But that organization is incredible. They're a bunch of adults who love Jesus and love serving people, and they welcomed us on their campus. So Monday through Wednesday, we get to go there and just enjoy their company. We do our class time there, we eat lunch there, we help clean up, we volunteer, and what's really beautiful isn't what we're doing, but all the people love us and accept us and just include us so well. They give us high fives, they remember our names, they ask us questions about things we told them about. We have one guy, Kevin. You'll know Kevin so quickly. He's a social butterfly and also just loves people, especially girls. So you'll know Kevin right away. Oh, there's Kevin. He turns 50 on March 10th, and we've been talking about turning 50 on March 10th since March 10th of 2019. We have been very excited about it for a very long time. And so everybody at Adventures in Missions knows that Kevin turns 50 on March 10th. And they ask him about it. So they say, Kevin, are you getting excited for your birthday? What are you gonna do? And just them remembering, Kevin turns 50 on March 10th shows him, wow, they listen to me, they care about me, they must be my friend because they love me. And that's something that's really important, is just feeling included, because everybody wants to be included, every human wants to be included, and just feel seen and loved. And whenever somebody does finally see you and believe in you, it makes a huge difference. It changes the way that you view yourself. And a lot of times, unfortunately, our people have been labeled their whole lives as disabled or not able to do this, not able to have regular relationships or friendships because of their disability. And they've been put in such a box. And our goal is to always get them out of that box and show them, you're worth so much more. You are created intentionally. You are able to love. You are able to have a purpose, and to show people how incredible you are and how incredible God is through you. And it just takes a little shift in our mindset to be able to think that way and recognize, yeah, this is a creation of God, and I get to know them and have them as a friend in my life. And what's really cool is we are looking forward to creating that same atmosphere and same culture here, because we will be here on Fridays, especially during lunch. So you guys will get to interact with us. You'll get to talk with us and get to know us and become our friends. And that's all we're looking for, is just to build friendships. And we really are looking forward to creating that culture with you guys and your staff. and allowing you to also see us and be changed. Because like I mentioned earlier, they really are people that'll change your lives if you let them. If you're willing to open your mind and just maybe think differently than you have previously and realize, maybe I do have something to learn, and though this person is different than me or maybe sees the world differently, we actually can be really good friends. And it's a really beautiful friendship that happens out of that. So just some ways to best interact with us or even start those friendships. I realize it can be awkward and it can feel like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do or how to act, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so maybe I'm just not going to say anything at all, but I don't want them to feel left out, so I just don't know, and it's confusing, and I get it, and we don't want to put pressure on you guys to do anything that you're not comfortable doing. So maybe at first you just kind of step back and watch how we interact, watch who we are, how they interact with each other, and just those friendships that are already there. And then I encourage you guys to step into those friendships and ask them questions. They might not answer all the questions you ask them. If they don't answer your question, just move on to the next one. They won't be offended. They might just, not know how to answer it, and that's okay. But they love talking about everything. They love sports, they love Special Olympics. We have guys that do everything. They do powerlifting and swimming and basketball and bowling and horse riding. They do every type of Special Olympics you could think of. They love country music and food and, any topic of conversation they're gonna relate to because, they're people just like we are, and so they love to do what everybody loves to do. So those are great topics of conversation just to get it going, to start building that relationship, because I do recognize it can be awkward at first, but it's worth it to, handle a little awkward conversation in order to develop that relationship. And even just sitting with us at lunch. I think we will already have eaten lunch because we'll be here for middle school. So I believe most of our people will have eaten lunch with the middle schoolers, but they still want to sit with you and talk with you. So whether you're eating lunch or maybe you're not that day, they want to join you and just build relationships. Or you can come and sit with us if we're sitting at a table together. Just join us for the day. Grab a buddy and say, hey, let's go talk with our peer friends and get to know them because they look like pretty cool people to get to know. And that's another thing. I realize even society can be so picky about what is politically correct and how to say what. And there are certain words that you can use that are more respectful, like special needs or disability. But even just referring to us or talking about who we are, you could just call us your peer friends. We're your peer friends. So if you're talking about what you did in lunch, whenever you're in your next class and you say, I ate lunch with Kevin, and they say, oh, who's Kevin? You say, oh, well, Kevin is my peer friend. And that way you don't have to get through any awkward trying to describe who Kevin is or why Kevin's here. You can just say, oh, Kevin's my peer friend. And also, sometimes it's hard to describe everybody else. So, yes, our peer friends have disabilities, but then does that make us normal or what? But normal indicates that they are not normal. But normal's really weird because I don't think there's there's no such thing as normal. But when we refer to ourselves, we just say typical. We're typical, neurotypical people, and then people with disabilities. And so typical versus peer friends, and that's okay. That's a good way to put that, I guess, to avoid any awkward, slip-ups or just unsure. And I get that. There's grace. There's so much grace because, this is maybe something new for a lot of you that you haven't experienced before. So definitely understand that we're flexible and we're understanding and we're here to love you just like you're here to love us. But it is going to be a really amazing opportunity just for you guys to see what we're about and hopefully be able to learn so much from our people and how much they love and how much they have to teach us because they really are incredible. So I wanted to just open up a time for questions and see if anybody had any questions they wanted to ask, maybe something specific or it could be broader too. But if you had any questions that you're willing to ask in front of the group, you're probably not the only one. So does anybody have any questions that come to mind? Yes? Oh, my brother. So he's not quite high functioning. He's pretty low functioning, if that makes sense. So it's hard to describe people with autism until you meet them, because autism can range from, just having some social awkwardness to some intellectual disabilities. And so my brother, he is 15 now, but he reads at about a second grade level. So if that gives you some idea. He's amazing. I'll just share that story because it's so good. We adopted him whenever I was 9, and we were looking to adopt a baby, we were looking to adopt a toddler. But then this baby came into my mom's unit, and it was my brother, but they were like, okay, we're gonna try and adopt him. And I was so stoked because I really just wanted to be a big sister. And so literally he was in the hospital for 3 weeks because he was premature. And then he was in foster care for 1 week. And then like a month later, exactly, he was born February 25th. We took him home March 25th. So we went from nothing to having this screaming baby in our home. And it was like, oh, the best thing, because I was so excited. And we realized later, we didn't know at the time that he had a disability, but we realized later that he did have some developmental delays and some things going on. And so the Lord brought us through a huge process of what that looks like. And now, our family is maybe a little bit different from the typical family, but it's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for them. And yeah, good question. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes?
What do you have to do to start working with, peer friends?
Yeah, our peer friends. She said, how old do you have to be? I mean, we're going to be coming to you guys, so there really is no age limit. Are you talking about like volunteering outside of school?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We love volunteers. I mean, there's really no age limit or, requirement. It would be tricky because we are 9 to 3 Monday through Friday, but if you're interested in volunteering with us or just hanging out with one of our people outside of school, they would love it. They would be so comfortable with it. But once you're done, 18 is how the youngest you have to be hired. So yeah, that'd be a cool opportunity. Good question. But also Special Olympics would be a really good organization to look into for volunteering if that's something you're into. Just look up Forsyth County Special Olympics, and they have all sorts of sports that you could do, or special people that you can partner with. So, cool. Any other questions? Yes?
You want to talk just a little bit about introducing yourself and the physical interactions maybe with our peer friends, because they're very loving, but you're also teaching them to have good introductory skills.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm,
what does that need to look like for us?
Yeah, it's always good to model just appropriate social behavior too. So it's great to introduce yourself. Hi, my name's Erin. What's your name? And then if they don't say their name, maybe say it again. What'd you say your name was? And encourage them to introduce themselves. And one of our guys will go through a whole spiel of, I'm Jordan Vickers, I'm 26. And that's great, and encourage that. And that's so great to meet you, very cool. What do you like to do? So just maybe leading that conversation might be more helpful to our people, because they are working on those introductory and just social skills in general. Sometimes social skills are tough, we get that. But yeah, that's a great way to introduce yourself.
If one of our friends wants to give us a hug and we're not comfortable, we can say,
yes,
how about let's shake hands or whatever.
Yep, high fives, shaking hands, knucks, anything. And we're okay with hugs. One thing we are really working on right now is asking permission before giving somebody a hug, because we are huggers. We love to hug everyone. But, it might not be appropriate at that time, or you might not be comfortable with it, and that's totally fine. So we're working on teaching our people asking permission. May I give you a hug? And working on, if they say no, then just giving a high five, or, knuckle pound, or shaking their hands, or anything. Those are all great physical interactions. And if you are comfortable with hugs, then that's great. Our people love it. So yeah, great question. That's good. Any other questions? Cool. Okay, if you guys think of any, feel free to reach out to me afterwards, or I'll be here every Friday hanging out with our people. So yeah, feel free to reach out, and I'm really excited just about what's going to happen. Thanks for listening and being so great. Yeah, see you guys.